Something that came to me today. So, as you probably seen in the title, could this be our the reason why there's division? I don't know. Um, First of all, the reason what came to me was a download that was someone was telling me. I'm pretty sure it's one of my intergalactic guides or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Someone. Um, and they're telling me that this happens quite often. I don't usually refer to them as they, as kind of just like part of myself, right? But anyways, the point is what they were telling me was that because we densify into this reality, right? Because we densify into form, and the soul is huge. The soul is actually, part of source, part of God, whatever you want to call it, right? And so what happens is when it densifies, it takes a part of little things and it goes into this form. What happens is it feels like it's almost like it's like a boxing in of things. It's a kind of like, when you compartmentalize, that's the way it is. So I feel like strongly like when it's like it densifies, it becomes form, it becomes physical form. You manifest in physical form. And that's usually how it is. Energy, physical form is not the reality. It is one reality, it's a lower reality of the massive reality. And what happens is that it becomes kind of compartmentalized. And because it compartmentalizes, meaning when I say compartmentalizes, that there's other forms that the soul will take through lifetimes, through whatever. Like it could be linear, it could be nonlinear, whatever. The point is, it does that. Um, and I'm just loosely putting in this into words. Okay, just keep that in mind. I don't know how to word this, but the way I'm getting this image of like how it goes whoop, and it's just like this one thing, and that exists on its own time, right? So even in linear time, we have linear time because we have this perception that I was born and I'm gonna die, and that's my existence. But really, what it is just a temporary thing. Just like you've heard before, it's like we're borrowing, we're here on a loan, right? Other things like with RuPaul, he would say like, we were all born naked. Everything else is just drag, right? There's many ways of how it's come about, right? So there's whatever. Doesn't matter who's saying it, what philosopher's saying it, what teacher is saying, what guru is doing this, whatever, whatever. The point is that's the essence of what's happening. It becomes this physical form, and then there are other parts of components of source that are other souls that go into their own forms as well, whatever the incarnation or reincarnation or deincarnation, whatever it is, right? It's just it goes into little pockets. It's just the way that's why you see diversity. But because of that perception of the reality of the development of the ego's perception, as Bashar puts it, is the goggle, it becomes that framework for what we as an individual perceive reality to be. So then it becomes an attachment. That's where it becomes the ego no longer becomes free from itself, but rather becomes entrenched and actually caught up in its own reality. Like it's almost like if the ego were to not exist, we wouldn't have goggles. We would just be swimming in whatever. It would just be perfect. But in order to have existence, in order to feel and actually experience existence, we need to have that separation. Separation meaning not to be separate, but the illusion of separation is what's going to create the reality of unity, if that makes sense, right? Let me repeat that. The separation, what it just came out. Okay. The illusion of separation is what's going to create the reality of unity. In other words, what you have, what you experience as pain and suffering, or rather, what you can experience as pain and you make it into suffering, whether subconsciously, consciously, unconsciously, super consciously, we learn from that and realize, oh, that's not really what it is, right? You have to have the opposite in order to find the other opposite. It's a polarity thing. That's exactly what I'm saying when it comes to compartmentalization we think that this reality is the reality, and but it actually contrasts the greater reality. This doesn't deny or negate or devalue this physical reality. It just means that it's the temporary reality. The the eternal reality or the non-temporary reality, the permanent reality is that we are permanent. So the point I'm making is that it makes sense why there's division, because we not only identify but I feel like it's more like the root of it is the essence behind it is the fact that there was compartmentalization in the first place, but that's how it is. So it almost makes it look like division has to be necessary or necessitated in order for us to realize unity. You see what I mean? That's the role of our darker side. That's the role of the constrictive side. Constriction goes like this, but in reality, there's constriction to serve the purpose of expansion as well. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. What is? I just wanted to point that out because I just like it came to me in that specific, in those specific um, uh, wording, like analysis. I don't know. It just came to me and just like okay. So in other words, through the through the words that I was just using, how reality comes out to be is, or how the reality of what we perceive as division is actually necessary for us to realize unity, if that makes sense. Okay, so, anyways, see you guys later. Thank you for watching. Bye.